Tony D and Little Joan with a screenwriter's rant on The Gentleman, a Guy Ritchie series on Netflix. And it's really an extension of that Matthew McConaughey movie. It's a very similar plot. Smash like and subscribe. Thank you for smash liking and subscribing. Check out my books, links in the description. Comedy Horror in South Jersey. It's the Pineys, books 1 through 13, available at Amazon.com. Don't forget, Kindle Unlimited is free. So if you remember the plot of the Matthew McConaughey film, what the hell was that called? It was called something, The Gentleman. This is very similar. The premise of that was Matthew McConaughey was an American exchange student who started selling pot in college and turned himself into a kingpin by creating underground like pot farms underneath rich guys' houses because they are all broke. So this sort of dives into that. This combines a lot of the stuff Guy Ritchie is known for. You got low-level thugs, high-level thugs. March 7th it starts. You've got a duke and his brother, and they're broke, right? They've been rich all their lives. They don't really have a ton of skills. They're spoiled. They just do a bunch of drugs and are spoiled. And then their father dies, and because he dies, things change. They're contacted by a woman who reveals to one of the brothers that this is how the father made money. He had an underground pot farm right under the estate, and in order to continue the business and keep making money, he agrees to keep taking the criminals' money. But of course, there's all kinds of criminality in and around having a pot farm and selling drugs and whatnot. So the plot of the series, I think, is how the two brothers get out from under the criminals. But they're going to have to be criminals in order to get out, because their father has plunged them deeply into debt, and they can't maintain their lifestyle without the money. So that's sort of the deal. In the Matthew McConaughey movie, he was the criminal that was that had the pot farms underneath other rich guys, former rich guys' mansions, dukes and whatnot. So this focuses on two young noblemen, essentially, in England, and they had no idea their father was doing this. So this woman shows up to the estate after the funeral and says, we have to have a talk, and then explains the facts of life to him. So I kind of like this setup better. The problem with the Matthew McConaughey movie is I think Guy Ritchie wanted to do the movie, and then Matthew McConaughey was the star, but he wasn't an Englishman. So they had to sort of build the movie around him. And because of that, they had to have a bit of a convoluted explanation of how he became sort of the drug kingpin, which didn't really sit as organically as it could have had the actor been English, or had Matthew McConaughey been able to pull off an English accent, which I don't know if he could. Maybe he could have. I doubt it. And he's not known for that. I don't think it would have sat right in the audience's mind watching him do an English accent. I think that's part of the problem why American actors, especially the bigger ones, can't do quote-unquote American accents and can't really get away with it. I think Robert Downey Jr. is the only American actor to ever really get away with it. And he kind of... Does he even do an English accent in Sherlock Holmes? I guess kind of. God, I can't even remember it now. He's just... I guess, Downey is just such a powerful presence on screen, it kind of doesn't matter. But with this, it feels like this kind of plot can work a lot better because he's using all English actors. He's using a lot of the people from some of his previous movies that, um, like Lock, Stock, Two Smoking Barrels, and Snatch, like the guys around those. Also, Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt did crazy accent in Snatch. Um, so, I'm a big fan of Guy Ritchie, so I'm very biased towards any of his projects. I just love the aesthetic that he brings. He brings rock and music that I like. I think we have the same aesthetic and music except for Madonna. Don't know why he went there. But, he's got that song, I'm a man, yes I am. That song's playing in the background of this. So it'll be about two really spoiled guys, I think primarily focusing on one, trying to get out from under, trying to return dignity to nobility in a lot of ways, trying to get out of their criminality in order to restore their family name and restore the estate and their lands, which will be really tough if they don't have other businesses, right? And it seems like the more they try to pull away from it, the more criminality they seem to get into, which will be kind of funny. So the kind of comedy that always comes out of a Guy Ritchie is sort of this dark, sort of gangster comedy. I like to think of it. It's not really like laugh out loud funny. It's more like, holy crap, you just shot that guy in the face funny. Like, it just sort of comes out of nowhere. It's sort of like guys doing stuff they know they shouldn't be doing, but they have to do it anyway. So I think it could be very interesting. I don't know how many seasons of this you could do before it starts to get out of hand, before it starts to get so unrealistic. That's usually the problem with doing stuff based on criminals, which is why I think movies tend to work better, because it's sort of, they always end up in jail or dead. Very few of them end up, unscathed from that world, because it's pretty vicious and brutal. So, I mean, it could last. It'll be interesting to see Guy Ritchie put his touch on a TV series as opposed to a movie, because with a TV series too, you have to keep it going. So there's a level of status quo you have to maintain, but at the same time, you still have to move the story forward enough that you feel like you got some payoff. And really, it's very difficult to do that. And I think what we're seeing with a lot of the series that are binge watching is we're starting to see a transformation where in the past, what you would see on network TV especially, is you would see a TV show where the status quo always went back to zero, almost every time. Very rarely in the old TV show days would you see characters progress, and even in dramas, it would kind of always go back to the status quo, or at least pretty close to it. What you're seeing with these binge shows more and more is you're seeing seasons where things progress really far. Like if you look at Breaking Bad, that's not a show that went back to zero. After you got to the end of a season, the character would be much different. And then each subsequent season, you see Walter White change bigly. And so I think we're seeing that more and more with these binge shows. So what it kind of turns a season into is really sort of a 8 to 10 hour movie, stretched over a long period of time, which is good and bad. Sometimes it's good in that if it's based on a book like Reacher, sometimes I feel you get these episodes in which they either have to force in some sort of cliffhanger type situation, or you end up with an episode that you're kind of just treading water in terms of the narrative. Whereas something original like this, and I think this is completely original deal, although sort of like the Matthew McConaughey movie, you can build it correctly if you have the right writing talent or the sensibilities in the case of Guy Ritchie. So I got big hope for this. This looks like something I would enjoy. Let's see. Let's read the write up. March 7th, I believe it starts. The Gentleman sees Eddie Horniman, Emmy nominated Theo James, unexpectedly inherits his father's sizable country estate, only to discover it's part of a cannabis empire. What's more, a host of unsavory characters from Britain's criminal underworld want a piece of the operation. Determined to extricate his family from their clutches, Eddie tries to play the gangsters at their own game. Yeah, that sounds pretty awesome. Looks like 8 episodes on March 7th. Depends on how it goes. Like if Guy Ritchie says, I'm going to do these 8 episodes and I'm out, it could be amazing because you would see, essentially an 8-hour movie. We build to that last episode and then Eddie would finally get out or not get out and it would be an ending. Otherwise, you wonder like, is he going to end it in such a way like, well, it's kind of an ending, but we could go to a season 2. I would probably prefer the 8-hour movie situation. I would probably prefer him just go step on the gas and end this thing in 8 episodes. Rather than, I don't think it's a sustainable thing for I don't think you could do 5 seasons of this. It would be too long. Unless you're charting the progress of his eventual downfall. Like he becomes the cannabis empire guy and he just gets sucked into the criminal underworld so deep, like Walter White, that we eventually see his demise, kind of thing. So even that could work, but I don't know. I don't know what he's going for. I'm going to lean towards the 8 episodes and out because he's Guy Ritchie, and I think he probably wants to go right back to movies. But a lot of guys are doing TV, so who knows? All right, it's called The Gentleman. It's on Netflix, March 7th. And that's it for me, Tony D and Little Joan. Check us out on Odysee, Bitchute, and Rumble for our more bass takes. If you can find a more bass take, I say, take it. I will be at United Methodist, what is it called? I want to say Complete Care. No, it's not Complete Care. It's United Methodist, I can never remember the name. United Methodist Communities, that's it, at the shore. It's for the residents. It starts at 2. It does start at 2. I figured that out today. I had 3 written down on the calendar. But it's for the residents and their families. However, I will be at Nerdfest on Sunday, the 25th in Swedesboro, New Jersey. Hope to see you there. We'll see you in the next one.